Well, thank you. That was absolutely amazing. And I know Blake had the courage to go first and absolutely nailed it. But all 6 of you were the very first session of today, and you are each individually, but also collectively, so incredibly powerful in the messages you said.
Yeah, and just such an incredibly stark reminder of the absolute power of experience-based, equity-focused advocacy. When we can actually recognise the power for change that is created by individuals who refuse to accept the status quo, for those that, jump forward to actually provide leadership to many of us, in this room. I think it's something that we don't do often enough, and we have certainly, in asking you to speak today, we've heard you, and now it's our responsibility to act.
Absolutely. So Blake, I referenced you speaking first, but your speech, you gave us actual practical solutions for how to do the transformation, not just that you're calling for, but that actually all young people, and in fact all Queenslanders deserve. So the ability to take your vision and give us clear things that we can do, that stuck with me.
Yeah, and that's the idea of the significance of cultural disconnection that you spoke about. It's a theft, when our cultural identity is so critical to who we are, who we'll become, and who our children will become. For too long, we've considered cultural connection as this optional extra, when it is quintessentially about our best interests. It is who we are and it is who we'll become. And so I think that what I've heard from you is that in our advocacy, certainly, we have to be clear. Our right to cultural continuity, it is not a nicety, it's a necessity. So thank you for your message this morning.
Absolutely. And Huda, your words about the cycle of mistrust and the deepening of suffering was such a powerful statement. And I think you too spoke to that need to create a culture of empathy within child protection services, but more broadly, anyone that's working with families, including new arrived families. But that call for us to have an empathy that recognises the tapestry of cultural traditions in family life was such a powerful message. I've written that down and I'm going to carry that with me.
Yeah, I think that for me was a really profound statement, and it's that reminder that is an inherent strength. And instead of looking at that as a risk or an unknown, we need to reconcile that with the way that we practice, the way that we engage with families. And that message you gave about trust and transparency as an oversight body, that has to be central in the work that we do. So thank you.
Priya, the flow-on effects of proudly expressing your culture and your ability to share how you choosing to wear something on one night and changed other people's lives and other people's perspectives is a real example of what you later went on to conclude with, which is that representation is the key to opportunities. And that stands out for me. Your call directly to leaders in any organisation, I heard, and I will be talking to my executive team about. But the other thing you said was anyone in a position of power or influence has a responsibility to use their funding and their influence to create diversity and to create representation. Again, another critical and powerful message. Yeah,
and the message around intersectional women and what they bring, the value that they bring to different spaces, I certainly heard, and it resonated with me personally. When we kind of look around in the ranks of leadership, it is very, very scarce. To see women of culture, women in leadership roles, women with disabilities, and I think that the message around intersectionality needs to be taken seriously. So we start to hear that language when we talk about gender equity and diversity, but sometimes it's given such a superficial treatment. And I think what we need to do is to actually bring that into the centre of the conversations and be more deliberate in looking for it and then bringing in representation that is intersectional within our women. So thank you.
Ria, you're sharing the story, how sharing your story led to change, and your life journey of where you were feeling isolated and lonely, then expressing that and then drawing others in to the fact that you actually ran an event in Toowoomba that touched so many lives there in that community but now you are sharing it with all of Queensland and all of Australia through the ABC. That's a profound thing you've done, is not just have a feeling and an idea and a call to action. You have stood up and been the leader to drive that action. And I think for a youth summit, your story is an incredible one around, we too often say we need to listen to young people. In cases like yours and so many others, we need to just get behind you and back you, because you are the leader that's driving the change. Congratulations.
Yeah, I think that will to act and your sort of relentless pursuit of creating a space where people can experience, dignity, belonging and justice, I think incredibly powerful. And I hope that everyone in this room, got that, what do they call those things? QR codes, and because I can't imagine that or within the leadership across this room of organisational leadership and within government, that we couldn't support you creating more spaces where that is an experience for many others. So thanks.
Absolutely. Sharada, the language you used in your speech was amazing and powerful. I had to stop typing and pay attention on you, but I definitely need a copy of that speech. In the garden of humanity, every flower blooms in the same soil. And the symbolism in that sentence struck a chord with me. It summed up all of your speech, I think, in that call for equity, that call against racism and bullying, and just recognising the humanity of all of us, and that all of us have needs and wants, and that as a community, it's incumbent on all of us to work together to meet those needs. So thank you.
Yeah, and the comment that you made about race being constructed, and I think that we've accepted for too long that it's a thing when it's not a thing, and I think that we have to be able to challenge that, and within our own silos of agencies and government departments, we have to be willing to deconstruct those ideas and those ideals that it's, that prevent us from experiencing collectively that human dignity. So thank you.
And then finally, Tobin, you closed it out with that story of embedding culture in your own life, in your circle of friends and in the school, and spoke incredibly powerfully. Again, I keep using the word powerful because each of you have really set the stage here for what is currently happening for young people and what we need to do differently as a community. But that message you had around shame being a devastating factor, it rings so true to me, and many of the cases I see in many of the young people whose lives I have cause to review. That sense of shame, if we can as a community and as leaders across government, find ways to diminish, reduce and get rid of that shame, we'll be in a much better position, and the work you are doing in your school and in your community is actually doing that. So again, we need to stop talking about it and just back programs like yours and the work that you're doing.
Yeah, and that point you made about leadership, it's not confined to just one role in an organisation or one set age, within the community. That responsibility that you've been willing to take on to share our culture, with your peers and in the spaces that you operate, that is true leadership. And cultural continuity and the importance of cultural leadership is not just about our rearview mirror. It's not just about passing on our stories and our knowledge from the past. It is absolutely critical for our future, and I am so proud, in a condescending way, but I am incredibly proud that you understand that and your generation understands that. So thank you.
So in conclusion, I just wanted to thank all of you for being the first session of speakers. You have sent very clear messages. I can feel the room still being guided by the messages you delivered up on this stage. Enjoy the rest of the 2 days, and thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.